The metaverse. The metaverse. If you don't know what this is, welcome to this podcast episode, this audio lesson, where I'm going to explore the topic of the metaverse while explaining some of the key terms in English. Now, if you don't know what the metaverse is, welcome to the club, because I am just finding out. I am just exploring this topic myself, and I'm going to use various articles to explore what the metaverse is and why it might be important for learning English too. And I'm also going to use a variety of tenses, because I'm going to talk about what things were like in the past when it came to learning English, what things are like now and how things have changed, and also what things will be like in the future. So we're going to use the past, the present, and the future. Now, to help you with this lesson, if you are watching on YouTube, then turn on the subtitles. If you're listening to the podcast episode, I'll leave a link to the subtitles for you so that you can read while you listen. And let's just get started with the BBC article, which again, you'll find in the description. Now, the headline is this: apparently, it's the next big thing. What is the metaverse? And I think the reason why a lot of people are talking about this right now is because of Facebook. They have changed their name, or the company that owns Facebook has changed its name to Meta, and they have announced that they're going to hire 10,000 people to develop this metaverse. So let's just talk about what it is first. So reading from this BBC article, instead of being on a computer, in the metaverse you might use a headset to enter a virtual world connecting all sorts of digital environments. So a headset, those virtual reality headsets that you might have seen people use. I have never used one before. I have never tried one. But I do know there are certain places around the city where I live, or at least one place that I know of, where you can go in and try them out, which I might have to do soon. It goes on to say, unlike current VR, which means virtual reality, which is mostly used for gaming, this virtual world could be used for practically anything: work, play, concerts, cinema trips, or just hanging out. So it seems like the metaverse is the next thing where companies are going to take virtual reality so that you can put on a headset and meet people virtually for work, meetings, to hang out with friends, to go to the cinema, to watch concerts. So you're not actually there in person, but you're there virtually. The Los Angeles Times explains it like this: think of it as the internet brought to life, or at least rendered in 3D. So that just means that you can be inside of the internet. Zuckerberg has described it as a virtual environment you can go inside of instead of just looking at it on a screen. Essentially, it's a world of endless, interconnected virtual communities where people can meet, work and play using virtual reality headsets, augmented reality glasses, smartphone apps or other devices. So it seems like you will be able to enter this virtual reality, putting on your headset, and be able to interact with people and things in this world and do a lot of the things that you do now, but do it in virtual reality. Now, I'm sure at this stage you're thinking maybe, wow, that sounds cool. I can see myself being able to meet friends in this virtual world and have these different types of experiences. You might also be thinking, uh-oh, that sounds scary. That sounds like a future which might be a little bit dystopian. And a dystopian society is one that is undesirable or frightening. And it's the opposite of utopian. Now, I won't go into too much detail on my thoughts on that today. However, I do want to talk about this in terms of language learning. And before I talk about how the metaverse might be used by you in the future to learn English. I just want to talk about how the internet has really changed language learning. Because when I first started teaching online, all the way back in 2008, I remember people having discussions with people, and they said, no one is going to learn using the internet. No one in the future is going to learn a language using the internet. You have to be in real life with people. You have to go to language schools. You have to have a teacher there. You have to go visit the country. However, and as you know, right now, most learners use the internet to learn English. For example, you're listening to this podcast right now using the internet. And I have seen, for example, platforms like YouTube just explode when it comes to language learning. So the thought of somebody having over 1 million subscribers on YouTube to teach English was just unthinkable 5-10 years ago. But now there are many channels that have over 1 million subscribers. My channel has 560,000. I never thought it would get so big. And this is because more people are moving online and using the internet and social media and their phone to learn languages. But again, 14 years ago, a lot of people were saying that this wasn't going to happen. And now people are finding teachers online. They're using YouTube, using podcasts, they're reading articles online. And I think another important area that a lot of people don't think about is that I have spoken to many people who have learned English just through playing computer games and joining those types of communities. Now, when you think about computer games, they're more involved. You are interacting with the game. You are more active. And you can think about virtual reality as like a step forward with this, where you're actually immersed in the environment. And at the moment, VR is big in gaming. That is where virtual reality is starting to really thrive. So I think gaming is such an important thing to think about when it comes to the metaverse and how it's going to be used in the future. But also it's a good indication of how you can use or potentially use the metaverse in the future to learn English. Now, before I talk about that, I just want to mention 2 films that have really predicted or look at virtual reality and what this might be like in the future. Not just virtual reality, but augmented reality. Now, the first one is The Matrix, which was made in 1999. And I've just got a link to this. I'll read from it, where it says, one of the most influential action movies ever made and a perfect mix of thrilling form with brainy content. And it talks about the tale of humanity enslaved to machines through VR and how you have to decide whether you want to live in a virtual space or the real world. And I think a lot of people are going to think about that when it comes to the future. How much do you want to escape into virtual reality and how much do you want to be in the real world? And that is going to be a big topic moving forward. Now, the other one, which I love this movie, is Minority Report. And this shows augmented reality, where you can be in different places and have some augmented reality come into your world. So you can put in these little things, these little cards, and it brings out different types of augmented reality. Now, let's talk about the metaverse when it comes to learning languages and learning English. And I'm sure you can already picture, you can imagine what this might be like. It's basically where you are interacting with people in a virtual environment so that you are having a near or like a virtual experience of learning English in a English-speaking country. So you can imagine being in a room with other people, or being on the streets of this virtual place and talking to people in English and having to respond to what they ask you. Now, I'm not quite sure whether this will be with actual other real people who are using virtual reality as well, or just virtual reality people. But on top of that, it won't just be listening to people, but you'll be able to also see what they're saying. So you'll be able to have captions with what they say. I'm sure you'll be able to also see definitions of words you don't understand, to be able to use your fingers and your hands in order to bring up the dictionary or to have someone explain something to you. You might also have the ability to join language learning online, where it's like a traditional lesson, but instead it's virtual reality. And you'll be in this virtual classroom like you are. It will look exactly like a different classroom, and you'll be able to take lessons with a teacher. You'll also be able to attend concerts and shows and anything else in English as well, where again, I'm sure there'll be subtitles for you to follow along. You'll be able to interact with people in different situations. You'll be able to practice role plays, for example, to check into a hotel, where it's like a game where you have to check in to the hotel. These are some of the things that I predict that will come with the metaverse when it comes to language learning. And the biggest positive here is that you're going to be part of this environment. It's going to feel real because you're going to be in a virtual world instead of just looking at a screen. Now, my concern for all of this is similar to the concern that I talked about in the lesson where I went through social media and how to learn English on social media, but some of the drawbacks of this. And I'm sure it's going to become addictive, where people will just say, oh, I'm just going to go into virtual reality just for an hour, and they end up doing this until 2 a.m. Just like TV shows can be addictive, Instagram, and also playing computer games. I'm sure this is going to be an issue in the future, but the positives are definitely there, where you can immerse yourself into an English environment without having to go to different countries. Now, in terms of the payment of all this, I'm sure there are going to be free options, but you're also going to have to pay for this. And it seems like the metaverse and the economy of the metaverse is being built around digital currencies and NFTs. Now, NFTs are called non-fungible tokens, and they're using crypto and blockchain technology. And basically what they do is they assign an asset or something to someone's name. So it's a way to know what kind of digital asset is belonging to which person. Now, this podcast episode has been done with only a little bit of research and just me thinking about what the future might look like. So I would love to know your thoughts about this too. If you are listening on a podcast app, then feel free to send me a message or to go to my YouTube channel and leave a comment there. And then just tell me about what you think the future of education and language learning specifically is going to look like in the metaverse. Do you think it's going to take over the normal internet, the internet that we know today? Do you think it's going to take over traditional language lessons? Or do you think that there's always going to be that desire to be in the real world? And finally, if you found this useful, then please like and share this English lesson. Just look for the share button, get the link and send it to your friends or post it on social media. I really appreciate anyone who does that. And then if you're on a platform that allows this, please leave a comment below telling me what you think about the future of this. Okay, so thank you so much for listening. Be sure to check out the description for the links that I have researched and also for my book, The 5-Step Plan for English Fluency, which is free to download. And then, once you have finished with this lesson, why not listen to the one where I talk about social media? I'll leave a link to that too. Okay, Thank you so much for listening, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.